Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the Real Me, Chapter 28. It's titled The Obligations to the Home. It's really a continuation of the last chapter, which talks about how you treat your wife. This is more inclusive, how to treat not just your wife, your kids, but just in general, a husband's obligation to duties in the home. Um, Before you're married, you didn't realize that it actually is work when you get married, not just to work out a nice marriage with your wife and a relationship with your kids, but there's a lot of stuff to take care of in the house, especially when you have more kids, especially when the kids are younger. And when they're older, it's just different, bigger kids, bigger problems. So there's a lot of stuff to take care of: cleaning the house, cooking the food, dressing the kids, taking care of the kids. And then there's another dimension of financials. The more kids you have, the older your kids are, the more money you have to earn just to support the family. So you have a lot of obligations to the home. To what extent should a kollel husband, that's really what this book is written for, someone who's learning in kollel, to what amount, to what degree should a kollel husband take part in these activities, in these chores, in these duties, in these, financially and physically, in these obligations? So the author, he says, starts right away. He says, we always say, the Mishnah and Pesach, Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, learning Torah. Apparently, the common translation, the way he translates it in his book, is equal to all of them, equal to all the mitzvos. We're taught in yeshivas, Yeshiva Ketana, the Haredi system teaches you that Talmud Torah is the most important mitzvah, and you should strive to learn as long as you can, as long as financially possible. As long as you can, you should always be learning. If you're not learning, you should be teaching. So the mitzvah of Talmud Torah trumps all the other mitzvahs. So even if you'll say that it's a mitzvah to help out in the house, take care of the children, even chinuch for your children, or even helping out and cleaning up your house, or helping with the cooking, or helping with the bathing of the children, maybe you shouldn't do that. Those are smaller mitzvahs. Talmud Torah is the greatest mitzvah, right? You should do that. And the author said, if the head of the household looks at all these responsibilities as fitting for people of category B, he thinks people who do the other mitzvahs, that's category B, that's lower level, and he really ought to be sitting and learning, then he has a serious dilemma. What is he to do? If he just shut his eyes and ears to all these problems? There's tons of problems in your house. Besides, even if everything's running smoothly, right, you take out all the many duties, and then things are not running smoothly, there's a problem in the house, a sick child, or you have to go to the hospital for some reason, or there's a lot of, unfortunately, problems that people have to go through. What is he to do? Should he just shut his eyes and ears to all these problems? Maybe it's a Satan trying to distract him from learning, and his devotion to Torah is being tested. Maybe he should just go to the base medrash and have his wife deal with it all. Some took this route and were successful. He says some people actually did this. They let their wife, not some, there's a lot of husbands that do this. They leave everything or most of the things to the wife, including the finances. If you're learning in kollel, you're not earning too much money. So the wife is working as an accountant. She's working as a job. Plus, she's doing all these chores in the house and taking care of their kids. And he's sitting and learning. But most who tried this suffered for it. Either it cost them their shalom bayis, their wife wasn't happy, or his wife's health was compromised, or she got sick, or their children didn't turn out the way they wanted. Because if you're not involved in the house, besides the fact that you don't have a helping hand, you're not going to have a relationship with your kids too much. And they might not follow in your derech, and the Haredi derech. This is not what Hashem wants. So where's the mistake? Now it's interesting. The author says this is not what Hashem wants. He says some took this route and were successful. What does that mean? Some took this route and were successful. They were successful. What? That their wives worked like slaves, and they learned Torah their whole lives. And where was the success in this? You hear stories I've talked about, the Gedolim and things like that. And you generally hear stories about these things about Gedolim and things like that. Why his wife didn't even consult him when the child was sick and needed some procedure in the hospital, and she wouldn't want to disturb him. That's not a good thing. I don't know, when he says successful, he says this is not what Hashem wants. I agree, it's not what Hashem wants. Hashem wants every husband to be normal and to be part of the household, to help out a significant part, especially if he's not helping out financially, in kollel. He should at least be helping out in the house, taking care, bathing the kids, changing diapers, helping run the house, clean the house, So, and definitely trying to pitch in financially also, even if you say that kollel is the right thing for you. So, it's a big problem because, this is what we're taught. We look down as other tasks as beneath our dignity. We should be learning Torah. We have all these other things, and the author is adamant. He says, don't ignore the rest. He says, basically what he says is that the main point that Hashem put us in this world is for shleimus, is to be completely shalom. All the mitzvos, the 613 mitzvos, 248 negative commandments, positive commandments are connected our organs in our body, and 365 losas say is connected our sinews in our body, our gidim in the body, and that makes a complete body. And we have to do all the mitzvos. We shouldn't look down. Yes, maybe Talmud Torah is on a higher level, technically, according to what they're saying, than the other mitzvos. But if we don't do the other mitzvos, we're not going to be shleima. We're not going to have shleimus. You might be have a nice brain, or a fine brain, but your body is going to be missing. My rabbi, Rabbi Yaakov Friedman, always say you're a Baal Mum, you're someone who's missing an arm, a leg, if you don't have certain mitzvos. So it's important to do all these mitzvos. And that's basically the view of the author, is that you shouldn't view Talmud Torah, even though maybe technically it is on a higher level. It doesn't mean, when it's very clear from the Gemara Moed Katan, that if you have a mitzvah and no one else can do it, and you're really the only one that should be doing it, so technically you should be helping out. You should be doing that mitzvah, even though maybe it's taking away from the Talmud Torah, and then go back to it. But he says there's a problem with that, because people think I run back to the thing, and when you're thinking like that, when your mind is thinking that. Your mind is constantly contemplating and saying, yes, Talmud Torah is the greatest mitzvah. Now I have to interrupt for 5 minutes. I'll interrupt for 5 minutes, then you're running back. Right, what if it takes longer than 5 minutes? A lot of times you can't be that precise. You can't have this on your mind all the time. So, my view on the matter, you probably can understand what my view is. Of course, I agree with the author 100%, but I have what to add to what the author is saying, is that, he says Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. We always quote this. I remember there was a story I asked my father once. I was becoming much more frum. My father wasn't so pleased that I was going down the Haredi derech. He wanted to instill within me his derech, the modern Orthodox way. He wasn't happy about that. So I asked him one day. My father wasn't big into learning. Now he learns Daf Yomi. He actually learns Daf Yomi. He's kept it up for, I guess, a couple of years now. He started this past cycle. So I also started this past cycle. We're not learning together usually, but many years ago, I asked him. He knew the halachas. He always kept halachas. He was very careful in keeping the halachas. Even other people from modern Orthodox circles wouldn't be so careful in keeping. But he wasn't big into learning Torah. And I asked him, how come you don't learn Torah all the time? Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. He told me, this is his answer. He says, I'm going to learn in Olam Haba. When I get to Olam Haba, I'll learn Torah. I was always very strange about it. No. The only way you get to Olam Haba is you learn Torah. You got to learn Torah in this world. You don't learn Torah in Olam Haba. But many years later, after hearing different accounts from different people, I really understand what he was trying to tell me in his hints, is that he was saying that, people have different disparate views of what Olam Haba is. Is Olam Haba an intellectual thing? It's an intellectual joy? That's what, a spiritual joy? Or is Olam Haba a physical enjoyment? And I did hear from my Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Yaakov Friedman. He said, according to almost all the Rishonim, all the Achronim, except for maybe the Rambam, that Olam Haba is physical enjoyment. So, it's physical enjoyment. That means that, not like a lot of people like to say, that some I've heard in the Yeshivish world, Olam Haba is everyone gets a Gemara and a Shender and a candle, and you sit there and you learn. If you like learning, you enjoy it. If you don't like learning, it's Gehenna for you. So that's like the spiritual version of Olam Haba. Maybe the Rambam advocates that, but most Rishonim Achronim don't advocate that. Means whatever people physically enjoy in this world, that's going to be, maximized by 1,000,000 times in Olam Haba, and that's going to be physical benefits. And people, while you might enjoy the coffee, I always drink coffee. What do you drink the coffee for the Gemara? You learn the Gemara to drink the coffee. I learned the Gemara to drink the coffee. So. The coffee is the best part. Spirituality may be enjoyable for times, but it's not real enjoyment. Spirituality, you might feel on a high level after you learn Torah for a couple hours, but it's not really better than the physical enjoyments. And that's really the view. And my father was telling me, basically what he was hinting to is that not like the Olam Haba you think, where you're going to be learning Torah. He said, and this is what I think really the pshat is, now that I thought about this last night actually, Keneged Kulam. What's the word Keneged Kulam? Talmud Torah, Shavek Kulam, it should be worth Kulam. Keneged means against, right? Yasalo Ezer Kenegdo, a woman called Ezer Kenegdo, she's a helper Kenegdo, and Rashi says, if he's Zocha, she'll help him. Lo Zocha Kenegdo, if he's not Zocha, whatever that means, she'll be opposite. She'll fight him. So Talmud Torah Keneged Kula, I mean, it sounds like it's fighting all the other mitzvahs against all the other mitzvahs. And that's what I'd like to introduce over here, that people who think, and he quotes this Gemara, someone who says, Ein li ala Torah, afilu Torah ein lo. A person says, the only thing important to me in the Torah, is learning Torah. Afilu Torah ein lo. He's not even going to have Torah. He's not even going to have that mitzvah. And Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, people who think that the only real mitzvah, the only important mitzvah is learning Torah. And basically this is the whole kollel lifestyle that from the Haredi and maybe the Shivish in America, like they're brought up, the only aspiration, true aspiration for someone is to sit and learn for the rest of their lives, or to sit and learn and teach Torah for the rest of their lives. To learning, be involved with Torah their whole lives, that's basically gets in the way of all the other mitzvahs, because when you get a job and you leave the kollel system and you go out into the world, then you realize how many mitzvahs there really are. You deal with a lot of choshen and mishpat, you deal with a lot of benadal mechavero. When you're sitting in the base medrash and learning by yourself, maybe with a charusa, now with a chavrusa, you're not really engaged in all the other mitzvahs, right? A life of Talmud Torah opposes all the other mitzvahs. Doesn't mean that it's worth more or the same than combined. It doesn't mean 612 mitzvahs is equal to the one mitzvah of Talmud Torah. It's worth as much as 12 other mitzvahs. All it means that it opposes all of them. That's what it's really telling you, is that if you live a life that Torah is the only thing that's important to you, then you won't have any other mitzvahs. And that's wrong, because all the other mitzvahs are physical mitzvahs, most of them, and that's what, get your body ready, right? I do believe, I mentioned this idea of shleimus in your body. I don't know exactly what it means metaphysically, but it does get your body ready to enjoy Olam Haba. You have to fix every one of your part of your body so your body can physically enjoy Olam Haba. So that's what my father was telling me. He's like, it's not a spiritual Olam Haba, it's a physical Olam Haba. Talmud Torah is important, but it's only important to know the halachas. My father knew most of the halachas, the basic halachas. Most people know the basic halachas. A rabbi in the Orthodox shul will tell you all the halachas if you want to ask him. The basic halachas, without all the chumras. I don't advocate with the chumras. So that's really the truth. The truth is that Talmud Torah gets in the way a lot of times. They had this recent Adirei HaTorah convention here in Philadelphia, where they raised the kollel stipend for Avreichim in Lakewood 3 times, from like $300 a month that we're making, to $1,000. $1,000 nothing. I mean, Mir also pays 1,000 shekel. It's equivalent. 1,000 shekel in Israel is equivalent to $1,000 in America. They were all making $350 in Lakewood. I mean, that's ridiculous. They're making nothing. I mean, and they were saying it's an amazing convention. They were dancing, to perpetuate this idea that a kollel lifestyle is the real lifestyle, is the best lifestyle. I don't believe it at all. Listen, if you have a lot of money, you have a nice Yerusha, you're a bacher, you don't have financial obligations, I think learning is a great thing, and you should try to get as much in it as you can. I learned for many years. I really wanted to get married when I was younger, but it ended up being nice that I got married older, 35, and I had more time to learn and to absorb the Torah. Learning is a great thing. I don't say learning is not a great thing, because if you can't learn, and the better you learn, the better you'll understand the Torah, and the better that you'll keep the mitzvos, right? You're not going to fall into the trap of either chumras or kulas. Some people, they don't learn enough Torah, and they're just making all the Torah because they don't know enough. Some people do the opposite. They learn too much Torah, and they're machmir all the chumras. So you got to know the Torah. If you learn it well, you can learn it accurately and be precise what actual halacha is. If you're not sure, ask a rabbi, get a psak. Don't be machmir. I really think when being machmir is a terrible thing. That's the whole Masechtas Nedarim talks about. We'll do it next in Daf Yomi. So all I have to say over here is that Talmud Torah is not better than all the other mitzvahs. In fact, the Mishnah says in Perkei Avos, it says, "Halomed amanas lishmor los l'kayim." Right? The Gemara says in Kedushin, "Gedol Talmud shemeli de ma'isa." It's only great because it enables you to do the other things. Right? It might be greater. It's not greater in it itself. It's greater because less to do the other things. There's a famous story of Aaron Kotler, happens to be the founder of Beis Medrash Kavola, where the stipend was tripled. On his deathbed, they asked him what should be the mantra of Lakewood. He said, "To learn for the sake of learning." No. That's not what Perkei Avos says. Perkei Avos says, "Lilmo lishmor lasus l'kayim." That's the whole purpose, is to keep the Torah. We're not here. The Torah is instructions on how to do the mitzvahs. The mitzvahs is the main part. Torah is important because without understanding the Torah, we won't be able to keep the mitzvahs properly. But let's not forget about that. The Torah is just a method, it's a means to the end, which is the mitzvahs, the mitzvahs are done by your body, which is going to enjoy Olam Haba. So don't forget about that. And bringing it back to this chapter, the obligations to the home, once you understand that, the Talmud Torah is not that important, I think, the whole idea of a kollel system falls off. I don't agree with this kollel system. Once you get married and you have financial responsibilities, and responsibilities in the home, you gotta get a job. I'm sorry. I mean, unless drive your wife crazy, you would drive her into debt. And most wives work like slaves. It's not only necessary to have the finances to support your family, but also to pay for help in the house. It's necessary to have cleaning help, to help, even if you can, to have help taking care of your kids, because these are huge stresses, even on a wife that's not working, right? If she's working and she's supporting your family, and she's taking care of kids, and she's cleaning, and she's staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning praying for Shabbos. It's ridiculous what women have to go through. They're slaves. A lot of women are really slaves. Her husband is sitting like a king, going to kollel every day, drinking his coffee, and coming home for Shabbos meals, and eating his meals, and leaving and learning. He's a king, and he's on a pedestal. He's putting himself on a pedestal, and you're not entitled to be on that pedestal, because you have to be taken care of. As I said many times, marriage is 100% on the husband, 0% on the wife. You have to be completely involved. A wife sure can help out, and most of the taking care of the kids should fall on the wife, but because it's very hard for a man to do that, but he should be able to help out both physically, be present, and financially. I don't think night seder is an option. It's not even an option. I don't think night seder. You got to be home at night. You got to spend time with your wife and help take care of the house and the kids. It's obvious to any normal person that these things are not just these obligations, like you said, the obligations to the home. You are obligated to these things, whether you realize it or not. It's part of the ksuva. It's part of decency. It's part of being a fair person. There's no reason to think that. The only way you get out of that is to think the kollel system is, the noblest thing in the world, and Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam is the only important mitzvah. So therefore, I have an excuse to just sit all day in yeshiva, come home, leave at 7 o'clock in the morning, come home at 11 o'clock at night, and come for the Shabbos meals, check in, check out. And, there are people that work that do that, but at least they bring in finances, and the finances can help their wife with cleaning help and taking care of the kids and other expenses and vacations and things like that, which are needed. Vacations are necessary. Talk about it at a different time, but it's really important to recognize that these are obvious things. Any normal person should be present at home, should be helping out at home, learning to do things in the home, and taking care of his wife. I mean, the wife doesn't take care of the husband takes care of the wife. So this is important, very important. As I mentioned before, I don't believe in the kollel system at all. I think it sends the wrong message. Even the parents that work hard and have a lot of money and support their kids in kollel, and they go to Ramat Eshkol for the honeymoon and Ramat Eshkol, whatever they call it. It's a big mistake, a huge mistake. And because kids are dependent, and we'll talk about it at a different time, that when you take money from someone else, you're indebted to them for the rest of your lives. You can't make your own decisions. That's why itself is not worth it. But the whole system is a faulty system, because then those kids, eventually, they're gonna have to make a decision. Money's not gonna last forever, and they're gonna be stuck dry, and they keep on learning and persisting in kollel. It just is a bad idea. Parents, I don't think, should give their money. Support their kids in kollel. And the kollel system should be abolished, and people should get a job and learn to grow up and be real men. That's what I gotta say. Hope you enjoyed today's shir. Oh, and I want to connect it to the parsha. The parsha is Vayelech. It talks about Hakel, right? The Gemara says that Hakel, the men come lilmod to learn the Torah, to learn what to do. The women don't understand how to do the mitzvahs, the shmoa, to hear, and the children heavy schar l'miviyim, to bring schar to the people that bring them. Who are the people that bring them? The mother and the father. Now, it's not just the mother that brings them. Miviyim is plural. The father is supposed to bring them, because the father is supposed to be part of the family. He's supposed to be just as much a part of the family as the mother. And even though the mother's taking care of the kids primarily, but it's the father's job, not just the mitzvah of chinuch, but also to bring his young children, even though they can't learn, they're not even young, they're not even old enough to understand it, not only old enough to chinuch, still it's supposed to be a family unit. You're supposed to be a unit. You're supposed to be together with your family all the time. Forget about all the obligations to take care of the children financially and physically, but just to be a family unit. And that's another thing I have to say about it. The kollel system, that it distances the father from the family. Business people also have this problem. This sefer is mostly talking about the kollel lifestyle. So you got to be a part of a family unit. That's the message of Vayelech, maybe schar l'miviyim. You got to be part of the family unit. Having a family together means together, and the father has to be present both physically and mentally and emotionally. I hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.